Real estate words and terms with meanings and examples, part number 2. Appraisal, which means an estimate of a property's market value. For example, the bank ordered an appraisal before approving the loan. Assessed value, which means the value assigned by a public tax assessor for taxation. For instance, the assessed value of the home was $250,000. Closing costs, which means fees paid at the end of a real estate transaction. For example, they had to pay $6,000 in closing costs. Comparative market analysis, which means an evaluation of similar properties to determine value. For instance, the agent did a comparative market analysis before listing. Contingency, which means a condition that must be met for a contract to be binding. For example, the sale had a financing contingency. Deed, which means a legal document that transfers property ownership. For instance, they signed the deed at the closing meeting. Down payment, which means the initial upfront portion of the purchase price. For example, he made a 20% down payment. Earnest money, which means a deposit showing a buyer's serious intent. For instance, they submitted $5,000 in earnest money. Equity, which means the difference between property value and mortgage owed. For example, she had $50,000 in home equity. Escrow, which means a neutral third-party account holding funds during a transaction. For instance, the money stayed in escrow until closing. Title, which means a legal document proving ownership of a property. For example, the title was transferred after closing. Mortgage, which means a loan taken to buy property, secured by the property itself. For instance, they applied for a 30-year mortgage. Listing, which means a property for sale recorded by a real estate agent. For example, their house was listed on the MLS last week. Commission, which means the fee paid to agents for selling or buying a property. For instance, the agent earned a 6% commission on the sale. Amortization, which means the process of gradually paying off a loan over time. For example, the mortgage amortization schedule shows monthly payments. Adjustable rate mortgage, which means a mortgage with an interest rate that can change over time. For instance, their ARM rate adjusted after 5 years. Fixed rate mortgage, which means a mortgage with a constant interest rate for the loan term. For example, they chose a 15-year fixed-rate mortgage. Balloon mortgage, which means a loan with small payments and a large final payment. For instance, the balloon payment was due after 7 years. Principal, which means the original loan amount borrowed. For example, the principal balance decreased after the payment. Interest, which means the cost of borrowing money, usually a percentage of the loan. For instance, the interest rate was fixed at 4%. Foreclosure, which means a legal process where the lender takes possession due to non-payment. For example, the bank started foreclosure after missed payments. Short sale, which means selling a property for less than the amount owed on the mortgage. For instance, they pursued a short sale to avoid foreclosure. Real estate agent, which means a licensed professional who helps buy or sell property. For example, the real estate agent showed us 5 homes. Broker, which means a real estate professional who manages agents or deals directly. For instance, the broker negotiated the final contract terms. Buyer's agent, which means an agent representing the buyer's interests. For example, the buyer's agent found the perfect home.